Welcome back to Mod Monday, which is soon to become Alyx Saturday. Just kidding, I'm not going to do the stupid voice. But really, I am moving it to Saturdays, and it will be called Alyx Saturdays. I'll explain more about that at the end of the video, but for now, let me explain why there are so many mods this week. And that is, Vaultmaps held a map-making contest centered around Xen. The description of the contest says anything from the quarantine zone to Xen itself, and I gotta say that most of the maps are very good. What's also cool about this is that all you have to do is download the 4 extensions to this add-on, and you'll be placed in a lobby where you can choose on an interface which of the contest maps you want to play. And actually, the only 2 maps in this video that weren't in that contest were the Lost Case 3 and the Lost Case 4. The other 12 maps were all from that contest. So enough with the intro, here are the categories for today, and we are going to start with the skins. The Walther PPK is one of the coolest skins we've seen so far, and I can't help feel like it was inspired by the recent GoldenEye surge. It looks really nice, and it has a custom optical and laser sight. The light on the bottom of the magazine indicates when a bullet is no longer in the chamber, which is the next best option to have a fully lit up indicator like the default pistol in Alyx. I think Field Studies is up there in my top 5 mods so far, but if not top 5, then definitely top 10. Spawning into this world as the sun is setting was such a vibrant change from what I'm used to with these mods. You know, where everything is just underground and gray. I think the most vibrant color you're going to find in this mod is orange, but still, that's usually a lot more color than you're going to get. It's also great to see some new models and assets. The museum-based environment is such a nice change of pace from what I'm used to. And as I'm hearing myself talk through this, it seems that the best advantage of this mod is that it's just different. But still, the quality and level design make this compete with the other absolute bangers. I think if it wasn't for the inherent difficulty in the combat, then this would be the go-to Alyx mod showcase for a non-Alyx person. The atmosphere is just so much more pleasant and digestible compared to some of the other maps out there. Unfortunately, it did have me fight 2 electric dogs at once, which is one of my pet peeves for mods. The ending sequence to this map has got to be one of the most unique uses of assets, and I found this part to be incredibly fun, although it did get quite difficult at the end. I think this is one of the few mods that I'll say that if you don't play it, you are definitely missing out. Morgue was a nice surprise compared to what I was expecting. It seems like the first half of the map is a sort of escape room / puzzle, and the first room is definitely an escape room. I spent maybe 5 minutes in that first room looking for my first step, and then another few minutes looking for my second step, and then another few minutes looking for my third. I think typically this would frustrate me a little bit, but seeing as I knew that there was something on the other side waiting for me, I was more than willing to get out of that room. And when I did, it was incredibly rewarding. Once you get through all the puzzles and down into the combat, it more or less becomes an average map. But overall, I loved this map and I absolutely recommend it. Reaction Diffusion is a wild map. There were multiple times during playing this that I was just wowed out of my mind. Is it extremely polished? Is the lighting exquisite? No. But it has so many wide, open, and large expanses that I just found myself admiring the level more than I was playing it. And I'll admit, I'm a huge sucker for large expanses like we saw when we first left Black Mesa into the wide open landscape. Now I'm going to flip the script and say that this mod also has some of the most confined and claustrophobic areas that I've been in yet. At one point you are literally shimmying between walls that seem like they're a foot apart. Maybe it's my resentment for the mundane and average, but this map's usage of extremes really caters to me. There is, however, one fatal flaw to this map, and it's that the ending sucks. The lead up to the ending was awesome because you're using catwalks to get higher and higher, and it seems like this is building up to a momentous battle. But when you finally reach this huge structure, and it has spinning panels, and there's a lot of cover on the ground suggesting that you're going to have a big fight and need to use cover to duck, it turns out that you're just going to fight like 5 Combine, while you gather enough power cells to shut down the structure. I don't know if having more combat here was a struggle for most PCs to keep up with, or if the map is just unfinished. But it really seems like there should have been something here that wasn't. So hopefully we will see this map updated to its full potential and glory. What Cat is an awesome mod that left me feeling much wowed and very intrigued. The story puts you in Xen and you're trying to find your way out. And I gotta say that this is a really cool implementation of an idea for what the Combine-controlled Xen world would look like. Everything felt very foreign and alien, which is exactly what I would expect. I was still impressed with the gameplay and combat, but honestly that's not what you would play this map for. The sole purpose of playing this map is just to be in the world. There are a fair amount of cool mechanisms and puzzles to play with, and enough well-rounded combat to say that this is just an all-round great and fun mod. Cave exploration has earned a well-positioned spot in the Sick Dude category, mostly through its unique design. The creator implemented custom narration to guide the player along, and usually this just sounds cheesy, but it's actually done pretty well here. Half of the time is spent in a well-designed underground cave, and the other half is spent in a sort of combined metal facility, which is supposedly for mining. I think the cave had a bit more polish than the combine facility did, but what kind of makes up for the combine facility is the innovative use of gravity. By shooting some thingies on the ceiling, you could flip gravity so that items went up instead of down. I think this could have been cooler if it were to affect more like characters, but it was still enough to keep the combat interesting. The Lost Case 4 might be my favorite Lost Case episode so far, only competing with the Lost Case 1. There were so many interesting level design elements to this, and the entire level was well polished. As per usual with these episodes of the Lost Case, I'm not really sure of the story, but I can tell that it's building up to one at least. It had one of the most complicated puzzles that I've run into so far, in which I gotta say, kudos to you, Wim, because I'm usually rolling my eyes through easy puzzles these days. The one thing about this mod that I wasn't a big fan of was the combat. It seemed just kind of thrown in there for the most part, which unfortunately seems like a running thing for the Lost Case. Regardless, there was plenty of it, so if you're in the mood for combat, puzzles, and everything in between, you will not be disappointed. A Way Through is a very polished, but basic experience. It's set in a sort of underground industrial area, which no doubt we've seen plenty of so far. Many of the rooms I walked in seemed empty and lifeless. I found rating this one to be a little bit confusing because on a polished level I would give this a Sick Dude, but on a layout and level design I would only give it a cool. There were no problems except for some unresponsive combine. And on an ordinary week this mod would stand out a lot more, but this week there are just so many great mods that I played in a row that this one doesn't quite compare to. The bunker started out sort of average and unimpressive. And it did take a while for me to get excited about it, but once I finally reached the large structure, my opinion started to change. Going inside of that structure was definitely the highlight. It seemed like you were entering a crash-landed alien ship, and exploring this alien ship was just fresh and new and creepy. There weren't many wow moments in this map, but it was fun and I recommend it to anyone looking for a good time. Right away, I thought Stomps seemed like it was going to be in the cool category. The level design was very basic, it was something that I've experienced multiple times, there was no inherent polish, and nothing unique or excitingly fun. Though I will say that there is one moment in this that requires you to go underwater to pick up a keycard. And while underwater you can't see, everything is blurry, so you're just kind of guessing where everything is through blurry eyes, and you have to kill 2 zombies. I found this to be annoying, but still sort of unique and charming. But the real highlight, and the only thing that pulls this into the really cool category, is the end. There is actually a boss, a giant head crab. And it is very reminiscent of old shooters that lead you into a giant open room, and you have sort of many objectives to kill this boss. When I first saw this head crab, I was amazed, but after I died like 15 times to it, I was well over it. It is definitely too difficult as it wasn't clear how to dodge the head crab's leg stomps, but it's also possible that I just didn't know how to do it. Necrotics was borderlining too basic and too done before. However, the amount of polish, atmosphere, and well-paced gameplay brings this right into the really cool category. There were a lot of head crab zombies wielding grenades, which I feel like doesn't get used a lot in mods. This enemy is such an exciting encounter and I wish I saw more of them, but maybe not too many of them. There were a few dark areas that I felt like I could have used a flashlight, but it just didn't turn on. So that was kind of annoying, but otherwise the level ran fine everywhere else. And I just have to point out that one of my favorite moments in VR so far is opening this locker and having all these cans spill out. Septic Trouble is another basic mod that I feel like just barely makes it into the really cool category, just by being long and having enough polish. There were a couple puzzles and some average combat gameplay, but otherwise nothing really stood out in this map, except for maybe the lighting in this hallway. There's something really satisfying about this atmosphere. Repellant is a really well made mod that I really wanted to put in the Sick Dude category. The polish, atmosphere, use of music, and the level design were all top tier. What this map lacked was any sense of story or any interesting mechanics. It does attempt to have a story towards the beginning, but towards the end, it's nowhere to be seen. In fact, the ending is so anticlimactic that I just completely lost interest after I was finished. I think most people will have fun with this mod, but if you're on limited time and can only play one or two, there are better mods within its genre. I somehow missed the Lost Case 3 a while back, but I managed to get my hands on it, and with lots of anticipation and excitement, I was let down slightly. The overall design from a bird's eye view was pretty good. It was a good length, it had good polish, the combat was well paced, but at the same time it ran poorly. I had low frames throughout the entire level, and the direction of the level was sort of unclear. I'm usually a fan of open designs like this, but this one just kind of felt bland and unfinished. There are definitely better episodes to the Lost Case, so if you're being picky, I would skip this one. Xen Voyager seems like more of a showcase than it does a gameplay map, but it does have gameplay aspects, and that really only consists of shooting headcrabs and zombies. It's got some teleporters that you can jump in and go from one place to the next, but as far as I could tell, there was no final destination. It was kind of cool to be walking around Xen, or what our best representation of Xen is at the moment. If you're looking for a particularly fun time, I don't recommend this, but if you just want to walk around in Xen, go for it. Dirty Deeds is a very basic map, something that we've seen many times before, but it's got this Xen Infestation twist. There was a great level of polish and lighting, but there were no mechanics or gameplay or combat or anything of the like that stood out. I think if it were a bit longer and something that was more objective driven, I could sling this right into the really cool category, but it was very short and unrewarding. Metropolis Infestation had a lot of potential to be really cool. However, it was extremely buggy. The map constantly glitched so that I could see straight through buildings, and backgrounds constantly disappeared as well. Despite these obvious defects, I still really enjoyed playing it. The level design was imaginative, which I enjoyed, and the combat was well paced. And that's it for this week's mods. This week I'm going to forgo the Alyx mod maker advice in exchange for what's happening to the series. First off, as you already know, the series is going to be changing from Mondays to Saturdays. The reason for this is just that Mondays are really terrible timing for my lifestyle, and these videos can take quite an ass ton of work. I'm hoping that Saturdays will be more conducive to my lifestyle, and I think it will be. The second change to the series is that I'm going to be excluding everything but the sick mods. I think the majority of people watching these videos is just looking for the best of the best mods to play in their limited time. I will make a point to include some particularly cool mods that aren't necessarily amazing, but they'll have noteworthy elements, such as Stomp from today's video. Obviously, having a giant headcrab as a boss battle is something that I should make a note of in these videos. But when it comes to an overall quality of a mod, such as a campaign map, I'm mostly just going to be including the best of the best. It's possible that that could mean that there might not be a video for a week, but it's also very possible that we will start seeing some even better mods and even more mods than what we are seeing now. As we know, VR is growing as a platform tremendously right now. And who's to say what that holds in store for Half-Life Alyx mods. I really appreciate the support you guys show me in the comments and by liking the videos. And for the rest of you, I just want to say thank you for watching. I'm happy to be a resource that you guys look to every week. Now before I get too sappy, let's just end the video. So until the next one, we'll be seeing ya.